Okay, here we are. We're going to do the bracing inside the box. So here's the box I'm going to use. This is going to be a resonator. Here we are inside of the box. The bracing, I use this word a lot. Simple. It's very simple. This is something that I've come up with. I've not seen anybody else do it, so I'd like to claim that I invented it, but it's so simple I can't believe other people haven't done it before. But it's very simple to do, very versatile, and you're going to want to do it. So it's very simple. I often make these. This happens to be some scrap. This is oak 1x2 and 2x2, so I didn't make these. These must have come from a hardware store, which makes it easy for anybody to do. So on the front end of the box where the neck is going to attach, we use a 2x2. On the back end where the strings are going to attach at the tail piece, we use the 1x2. These are cut just to be the width of the box. So they'll fit in there like that. And then we have a couple of oak dowels, 3/4 inch oak dowels. These guys are cut to be the length to fit inside the box. Now, the beauty of this process is, let's see if the bracing is going to go like this. I can put these dowels anywhere I want to. So if I'm going to be putting in a magnetic pickup, I can make sure that I'm spread out enough that a pickup will be able to fit nice and easily down between the braces. I can make sure that as I lay out the box, if I want to have control pots coming in from the side, that I have enough room to get a control pot down in there and sticking out the box without bumping into the dowel. Similarly, if I want to have a control pot coming down through the lid of the box, I want to make sure that I place those dowels properly so that they're not going to get in the way of the control pot. Additionally, this one gets slightly more complicated because it's going to have a resonator cone in it, so I've got to make sure that these dowels are going to stay out of the way of the resonator cone. So it'll end up being something about like this inside the box. And I believe where I'm going to put the control pots is coming out of the top, probably right up in here. So I'll do that layout. I'll drill the holes in the bracing and put the bracing together, and we'll come back and take a look at how that goes together in the box. Okay, so we're back. You can see I pulled the felt off of the top of the box. It actually came off in one nice piece, so I may end up gluing it down into the bottom here just to look nice, because the box, when we're done, it will open up. It'll certainly open up for service if needed, and it might be nice to have that nice felt in the bottom. So I'll save that off to the side. I've also got the bracing drilled out. You can see I drilled my 3/4 inch holes, put some countersinks in for screws so it'll hold it all together. So here's how I put it together. I like to flip this thing around and screw up the bracing while it's sitting in the box, so I make sure I've got it all properly put together. So I put my dowels into the holes. These were 3/4 inch dowels. I drilled 3/4 inch holes. I know the holes are 3/4 of an inch. The dowels were actually a little bit large, so I found that to be the case often. Sometimes a little bit large, sometimes a little bit small. I actually have a power tenon cutter, so I just ran it down here, shade this down a little bit so they fit a little bit better. You could do the same thing with sandpaper, or you could just whack it with a mallet to make it go through. This oak is strong enough nothing's going to split. I get it more or less in the right area. Fit it down into the box. Make sure it's mostly happy in there. It's not. These things sometimes get a little bit torqued. There we go. Nice flat fit. That's about it. Yeah, we're torqued again. This is there we go. Now I'll take my drill. We got the countersinks done already, so I'll just get some pilot holes in here for the screws. And these happen to be square head screws, so I got my little square head driver. Put these guys in here. kind of cumbersome working around a camera too. So anyway, there's our bracing done. It's ultimately going to get glued to the top of the box here, but we're not ready to glue it on yet. Like I said, nothing here is permanent other than how we just screwed together the bracing. Now, we'll take this out. We'll sand the edges smooth here, we'll sand them smooth here, and also, like I said, the box is going to be able to open and close. We can't get past the corners here right now just because of the angle of the lid. So we'll also take a belt sander and just kind of round over the corners here. Well, any sandpaper will work, any 60 grit. Just round over the corner there a little bit so this thing will come down and lock in with a nice tight fit. One other thing I noticed, and I'm not sure I can show you right now, is this box is just a tiny bit thin, like maybe a 1/16 of an inch too thin for this bracing to fit inside of it. This 1x2 and 2x2 that I have on the edges, so that the box, I can really clamp it closed, but there'll still be maybe like I said, a 1/16 of an inch so where the bracing is holding the box from closing. So that could easily be solved with a little sandpaper, either on the bottom here or on the top. Again, because I'm lazy, I'm going to run this over to the planer and just run it through the plane one time, maybe twice, clean up one side that I can then glue down into the box. So, okay, we've got the bracing done, nicely cleaned up, sanded on the edges. We got these corners round over here. Hopefully you can see that. Nice and simple, so it should fit inside this box. Go just like this, lock in, box will close up, should be nice and snug. Nice and snug, in fact so snug I might have a hard time getting it back apart. There we go, so it all fits nicely. Now we've got to notch out for where the neck's going to go, fit into this bracing. So let's put the box aside. Now you may hopefully remember that we're building this with about a 5-degree back angle on the neck. You remember we cut the edge of the heel at a 5-degree angle. So we need to cut this bracing also at a 5-degree angle, so the whole neck bracing system is locked in at a 5-degree angle, so that neck is angling down a little bit, and then the strings come up rather high and catch a bridge at a high point, giving a lot of down bear onto the box. So this is where we bump into a little bit of math. But it's really simple math. Go think back to your high school geometry. We need to figure out on the table here how high I need to raise up this front edge where I'm going to cut to make that a 5-degree angle that's being cut in the lumber. Now this is a little bit of math I have to do on a radial arm saw because it's a real pain in the butt to move the work surface. I could calculate out a 5-degree angle and use my protractor, and I can change the table to a 5-degree angle and start cutting that way. I find it easier just to put a shim in. Of course, if you're doing this on a table saw, it's dead simple. You set your table saw deck at 5 degrees, boom, you cut it. I did the math, and it came out to be within spitting distance of 3/4 of an inch. I need this end raised up compared to the back end. I happen to have a little bit of scrap of 3/4 inch. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put this guy up here. Rest it like that as I cut. That gives me, as I get cut in here, that gives me a 5-degree-ish angle where I'm going to cut the notch for the neck. You'll see that in a moment. But I've got to mark where the neck's going to go. So I'm going to mark the center of the bracing. It looks like it got us there. Pull out our square and make the mark right down in the middle. Now the handy thing about this square is it's 1.5 inches wide. Even if it is a little bit beat up, it's still square. My neck is also 1.5 inches wide. So I've got this line going down the middle. My square also has a hole in the middle. I guess that's to hang it on a nail somewhere. But that's ideal for me to just line it up, look through that hole and see where my mark is, get it dead center on that hole. Now I'm marking the outside edges of the dado I'm going to cut in here to let the neck in and get it locked in place. I'll cut just on the inside of these lines, and I'll get the neck and check to see if I've got the width right. If I need to go a tiny bit wider, I'll widen it up before I get the full depth cut. So here we go. I'm going to put on hearing protection, do a first couple of cuts here so we can just make sure this is working out properly. And then I'll bring the neck over and we can make sure we're getting just the right depth on it. Hearing protection goes on. Alright, you can see I was a little bit rough with the saw there. You got to beat it into submission sometimes. So let's see if we can get a focus on that. You can see it's a little bit of a deeper cut. Focus, you damn camera. A little bit of a deeper cut here on the front than it is on the back. That's giving us our 5-degree angle down through here. So we looks like it's working out just about right. Okay, here we go. We've got the brace notched out about as deep as it needs to go. You can see where when I put it together here, match it with the neck. We're just flush right where we need to be, so that the lid of the box will fit right up inside that gap. Should be a nice snug fit. And now you can see a little bit more about how this bracing works. I've drilled 3 countersunk holes into the bracing to go up into the neck. So we'll have 3.5 inch wood screws sticking up through here and going into the neck this way. So that'll lock the neck in, keep it from moving up and down or side to side. And then we'll have the pocket hole screw. You remember we drilled the pocket hole. It'll be coming in here and locking up in between these 2 screw holes into the bracing that way. So we'll be holding this thing locked in tight on 2 different planes. So this neck, it would easily hold up to 6-string tension. We're only putting 4 strings on it. So this thing is going to be locked tight. So the neck is attached to the bracing here. The strings then attach back here onto the tailpiece. So all the tension of the strings now runs down along these 3/4 inch dowels we put in here. So this is all locked up nice and tight, not putting much pressure at all on the cigar box, allowing the cigar box itself to resonate nicely. So we get a very nice sound out of it with that, especially with the additional down bear we get from the angle of the neck. So this thing is going to sound great, especially this one we're putting a resonator in. The resonator cone is going to have a lot of pressure on it, and it's going to sing nicely for us. But one last thing we do before we start putting this all together is we've got to make some adjustments to the box. So here we have the box, nice big box, and bracing is going to go in here like this. We'll get it glued in place, and then probably once I get this thing all put together, I'll have the hole cut out for the cone that's going to go here, and I'll have probably a little humbucker or a single coil up in here, maybe even a sound hole or 2. You know, your resonators typically have those nice round sound holes. I've got room for a couple of those up in there. And when this thing gets closed, it'll all fit nice and snugly, but I'll probably put some wood screws in each corner to attach the back of the box to the bracing, which is glued to the top of the box. That'll hold it all together nicely. But you can see here in the front where the neck is going to slide in, I've got to notch away the top of the box to make room for the neck to slide in, and also the bottom of the box to make room for the neck to slide in. And here we are. Got the front of the box here, a little bit of mess. Got the front of the box here notched out. We'll put the bracing in and do a test fit of the neck, make sure it's all okay. There's dry fitting here. You can see we've got the notch here matching up with the bracing. We close the box. Nice and snug fit. A nice little hole for the neck to fit in there. So let's do a little dry fit here. This is live. Let's see if it fits. We got the neck, we got the box. You can see how it all just slides. Oh yeah, it's looking good. Slides in there. A little bit snug. Yeah. Nice snug fit. So that's it. That's how we brace the inside of the CBG. Now, of course, once we get this all put together, let's see if I can get this apart. It's a bit tight. There we go. Once we're ready to do the final fitting, we'll have the bracing glued in place here, so it's locked in firmly with the box. Then we'll take the neck, we'll slide it into place like that, put a square on it, make sure we've got it nice and square. Then we'll pilot hole 3 holes up in there, and then put in our 1.5 inch wood screws to lock that down in place. And then the box closes on top of that once we got the electronics and everything in. But that's it. That's how we brace the cigar box guitar neck. Look for a couple of other videos. We'll do a little bit about shaping the neck and finishing the neck. We've done all of the fretting in a previous video, so we've just about got in these videos a complete cigar box guitar put together. I've said the word many times, easy.